Hello, all. Welcome back. We are continuing with our weekly portion review. We had a little break due to Passover, and we are entering into the portion of Shemini, the eighth day. Last year or 2 years ago, we spoke about how this relates to the days of creation, and how the eighth day is above creation. But there'll be I'll send a link. I'll put a link in the comments below. But really, this portion, the central drama revolves around Nadav and Avihu, right? Their passion and their offering, and of course the tragic death. And alongside them, we have the towering figures of Moses and Aaron. Now, quietly though, in the background, there's these two individuals that appear. They're seemingly secondary though, which is Mishael and Elisaphan, the sons of Uziel. Now, Moses commands them to carry the bodies of Nadav and Abihu out of the camp and bury them, right? And at first glance, their role seems purely technical, right? It says he has to take them out. You gotta weep over the burning that God did because He killed them. We have to remove them right now so they won't be impure. And when we look deeper, though, uh, they may actually be the most important figures of this entire portion. But why them, and who are these men? Right. So these really are the first cousins of Nadav and Avihu. Right. Uziel is the brother of Amram, Moses' father, which really makes Mishael and Elitzaphan, right, to be part of this inner family, right, the same spiritual lineage of Levi. And precisely really for that reason, the Torah's choice is quite striking. It's as if the Torah is placing two parallel models side by side, right? We have Nadav and Avihu, which were passionate, creative, they were very bold, but ultimately flawed. And then we have Mishael and Elitzaphan, which are quiet and obedient and disciplined, but nevertheless, they managed to be transformative. Now, the Torah isn't just telling us the story, it's actually presenting us with a certain contrast, right? What was the sin really of Nadav and Abihu, though? Right? Chazal being our rabbis, suggests something that is subtle but also extremely profound. That they didn't simply bring a form of fire, right? The Talmud teaches us also that even though the fire ascends from heaven, it's still a commandment, a mitzvah, to bring the fire from below, right? So bringing the fire itself wasn't the issue. The problem was how they did it, right? They decided to make a legal ruling, a halacha ruling, in the presence of their teachers, right? They acted independently. They didn't wait for Moses or Aaron to chime in with their advice or their thoughts on the matter, right? They decided that their understanding was sufficient enough, and this is what the Torah calls an eish zara, a foreign fire. And it's not because the act itself was foreign, right? It's because the authority behind it was foreign. Now, a week later, we move forward to next week's portion of Bahalotcha, and we encounter a seemingly unrelated story, right? That there were two men that were impure because they were dealing with dead bodies, and they couldn't perform the Passover offering. Right now, who are these two men? So our rabbis tell us, or at least according to one of the opinions, that these were Mishael and Elitzaphan. Right, these are the same individuals who carried out Nadav and Avihu, and because of that act of carrying them out, they became impure and couldn't participate in the Passover korban, the sacrifice. And here is really where the turning point is. They did not say we're exempt and the halacha is clear, right? And they didn't even make a ruling for themselves. Instead, they approach Moses and Aaron and they say, in Hebrew, it's lama nigara. Why should we be diminished, basically? They are feeling this loss of connection. Everyone is holy, and we're not. They're feeling that something is missing, but they're not taking matters into their own hands, right? They ask, they submit, they're seeking guidance. And what emerging from this is a new mitzvah, right? From that moment, something extraordinary happens, really. A mitzvah that wasn't previously commanded by God suddenly is created, right? Which is called Pesach Sheni, the second Passover. A second chance, a new opening, a doorway into holiness. And this is really what's so astonishing about this, that the mitzvah wasn't commanded initially, right? It emerges, again, from the request of the people. It's a genuine spiritual need, and from a longing, right, that really the people are refusing to remain outside. They're refusing to stay unholy, unpure. And that model is really of how true innovation happens. And now we can see the full contrast also. We have Nadav and Avihu, which had plenty of passion, but no structure, which leads to destruction. And we have Mishael and Elitzaphan, who are, yes, yearning with a structure which allows for creation then. And there's a real principle we could learn of here as well, which is true innovation in the Torah doesn't come from rebellion. It comes from relationship ultimately. And it's not by bypassing authority, it's engaging with it, and it's not from acting alone, but it's really connecting ultimately upwards. And this is the system within Israel, right? It's a pipeline through which holiness flows into the world. You many times heard me say, which is like, the whole world is a house. Israel sees itself as that Shemini to allow that holiness to flow, right? You can't innovate Torah from the outside. But when a person brings a true need, a real yearning, like we said, and directs it properly, orients it properly, then God and the heavens ultimately respond. And a new Torah could then enter the world. And a new Kedusha, a new sanctity is really born. Now, in that sense, Mishael and Elitzaphan become the prototype, right? This is how to renew Torah, how to expand holiness ultimately. And it's not an abstract idea, right? This is painfully relevant to the world we're living in today, especially in the land of Israel and the state of Israel. And it's a generation filled with passion and vision and creativity and urgency as well. And everyone feels something has to change. Everyone has ideas and everyone wants to act. But the question is, really, are we acting like Nadav and Avihu, or are we acting like Mishael and Elitzaphan? Are we creating a foreign fire driven by ego, and are we fragmented, and it's just the personal certainty I'm looking for, or are we bringing our passion into a structure, into proper dialogue, into a deeper national process? Now, really, in Israeli politics and society, we see tensions everywhere, and between the religious and secular, and between the judiciary and the government, and between tradition and even innovation. How do we innovate the tradition? And at the heart is the same question. How does change happen? If every group acts independently, convinced with its own truth, then again, we're going into that Esh Zara, that foreign fire on a national level, ultimately speaking. And obviously, we can't also suppress all the initiative, right? Then we're going to lose our ability to grow. So the Torah's answer, right, is that third path, which is not suppression and not rebellion, but aligned innovation, right? We bring in our voice, we bring in our pain, we bring in our vision, but we're not disconnecting from the collective. We're not severing from that chain, right? We don't want to turn it into a private fire. And the greatness of Israel is not that we don't argue, right? Even arguments could become Torah, right? In the Talmud, you could see the minority opinion. They have to be brought through in the right channel. And the question is not whether are we going to bring fire into the world, it's what fire will we bring? The foreign fire, or will we bring the fire that ultimately really builds the future of the people of Israel and ultimately the world? Take care and Shabbat Shalom.